Welcome to this unit where I want to briefly explain how we can use SPSS to transform our data set from the wide to the long format. For this, I just prepared this small data set and have a short look at the data view, which will explain to us or show us what I mean by wide data set. In this case, I have aside from the participants' ID and their age, two sets of 4 variables each. For example, if I had made a choice experiment and I made my participants make 2 choices. The first 4 variables describing the first choice situation, the next 4 describing the second choice situation. And what I want to do now is summarize the first 4 and the second 4 variables into one variable each. So I want to have one variable where it is those 10 values, below it then those 10 values, below it those 10, and finally below it those 10 values. So switch from 10 to 40 observations. Well, I could copy all of this to Excel and go copy paste, putting it one below the other. But well, that's beside the point because I can also do it much faster and easier using SPSS, and in particular by using data restructure. And here I have 2 main functions. The first one, this one here, as we can see here, goes from the wide format, brings data into the long format. The second one starts with the long format, splits it up, and generates the wide format. Well, we want to use or take a look at the first version. So if I click on this, I have next to decide how many sets of variables do I have. In my case, I have 2 sets of 4 variables each. So I have to select more than one, and how many? Well, 2 sets, so I'm leaving the 2 as is in this case. Click on next. And then with target variable, he gives me 2 variables, which will be the ones where I summarize the 2 sets into. So trans1 will be the variable for the first 4, trans2 for the second 4. How I'm going to do this? Well, I'm going to simply select them, assign them to the first one, go to the second, and assign the second set of variables here. I could then also give those variables different names, like variable 2. I have to click somewhere else, or wait, have to click somewhere else for the name to stick, and can do this same way for the first one. I could also get an ID number here, which is simply just a case number. So in this case, if I generate this, I would get exactly the same thing as this ID here. So I could also go with none. So in this case, I don't need anything else because I already have my participant ID. If I go to next, he will also generate me potentially one additional index variable describing whether the data comes from the first, second, third, or fourth variable. So it's highly recommended to make at least one of them. So I'll leave it as is. Go to the next one, just click OK. And then I have this point here, which I have to make a decision on. I have this ID variable, and I have the age, and they will be fixed for each of these variables. So whenever I have a variable which is not used before in the formatting, I can decide, okay, do I want to drop them or keep them as fixed variables, meaning they will just be copied one after another. So it will be those 10, then the same 10 again, then the same 10 again. So in other words, every participant's values, I will get 4 of them for this, 4 of them for this. Each of them will have the respective age for this participant assigned. Well, meaning again, I will leave it as is, click on next, and just click on Finish. We'll get a short message, and that's the data how it results. This is my original participants ID. As I said, I have now 4 times what I had originally. So the 10 participants turn into 40 observations. For each participant, they will copy the age as is. So I have the ages 4 times. I get the new index variable, which just describes the first variable, second, third, and fourth. And then I have all the data from the first set of 4 copied into variable 1, and all the data from the second set copied into variable 2. And well, that's about it. I have 2 other alternatives I could go with. For example, I could decide to summarize those 2 into a single variable, only differentiated by a second index variable. Well, in this case, I would just call my restructure again and select white to long again. Well, if I click here, I see I would have to save this, so I'm not going to do this. Well, the other opportunity, or not opportunity, other possibility to go with here, I could just make this white data back into a this long data back into a white data set. In this case, again, I would go to the restructure and just select the second of the 2 options. Well, as I said, that's done about it. So I hope you enjoyed this session. I hope you learned something from it. I say goodbye and see you next time.